without getting paid.
But you see how much kidnappers are picking for victims.
My thing is, government should, all the stakeholders should get that, and I think we get that. The 3% for the oil producing community is too low.
But it is support that is needed. And once you get the support, your airline people will blossom.
This is Nigeria. You need to give people sense of belonging.
A very good morning and welcome to Inside Nigeria, coming to you live from Leadership Podcast Studios. My name is Tion Joseph, and this morning I'll be reading to you major stories from 5 different Nigerian newspapers. And by the rule of thumb, I'd like to start with the most influential newspaper, which is the Leadership newspaper. And on Leadership this morning, the major story says FG moves to avert agony of subsidy, ends fuel importation next year. I take that again. FG moves to avert agony of subsidy, ends fuel importation next year. You can find details on that story on page 4. First bullet there says declares war on oil thieves, commissions 8 gunboats. Next says NNPC defense surveillance contracts to private firms, alleges involvement of churches, mosques, security agencies in crude theft. The last bullet there says provide evidence, go after culprits, religious leaders reply. Okay, that is all we'll be taking on Leadership this morning. Let's move briskly to the next Nigerian daily, which is This Day. Now, on this day, the major story says in major crowdfunding, Nigerians in diaspora move to raise $150 million, 100 billion naira for Obi's campaign. Now, the bullet there says Labour Party candidate pledges to cut cost of governance, commitment to transparency, accountability. That is all we'll be taking for this day. Let's move briskly to the next Nigerian daily. That will be the Nigerian Tribune. Our Nigerian Tribune this morning, the major story says stolen crude oil stored in churches, mosques, carrying. You can find details on page 8. Says importation of petroleum products ceases by mid-2023. That is all for Nigerian Tribune. Let's move briskly to the next Nigerian newspaper this morning, and that will be The Guardian. On Guardian this morning, the major story says after 14.6 billion naira, Nigerian Air misses 5th takeoff amid investors' apathy. The bullets over there says concerns as Nigerian Air gulps 14.6 billion naira in 4 years under 5% government's equity. Next bullet says industry awaits delivery of Sirika's aviation roadmap 7 years on, 9 months to go. Very last bullet for the Guardian paper says consultants, stakeholders disagree on prospects of new airline. That is all we'll be having on Guardian. Let's move to The Nation. And on The Nation this morning, the major story says Buhari to Nigerians, I won't interfere in next year's polls. Okay, and the bullet we have there says Osibanjo challenges governors on economy as to strike. Okay, that was all we have for The Nation this morning. Let's move briskly to the next Nigerian daily, and that will be the last one for today, which is the Sun newspaper. On Daily Sun this morning, major story says governors offer to take over negotiation with ASU. Take that again. Governors offer to take over negotiation with ASU. Now, 2 bullets there, and the first one says move to end industrial action as FG summons pro vice chancellors. The very last one there says we must act fast on economy, varsity lecturers strike once Osibanjo. Thank you very much for joining us, but don't go just yet because we have a public analyst in the house who will join David Tucker to have a full panel review on all these stories. Also, please do wait to log on to www.leadership.ng to read these stories and much more. My name is Tion Joseph. Please do join us again 10 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you, and do have a great day.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.
Good morning and welcome to Leadership Podcast. My name is Taka David and I'm your host for today's edition of Inside Nigeria. Inside Nigeria is a talk show where we do a panel review of some of the major headlines that made the day. And with me to do the review today is Mr. Jide Ojo, who is a public affairs analyst. Mr. Jide, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Today we'll be looking at some of the major newspaper headlines that made the day on some major newspapers. We may not be able to take all the papers, but major national dailies. I will start with our own publication, The Leadership. We're looking at the first major headline, which is the big story on oil theft, which has made headlines in the last couple of weeks. And the biggest story today is that FG moves to avert agony. So, FG moves to avert agony of subsidy, ends for importation by 2023. Mr. Jide, what is your take on this oil theft story? It has been in the news for the past 2-3 weeks, where we have, in fact, as of yesterday, there is even, according to the NNPC, there's a grand theft that is being organized. Even churches, mosques, and some security agencies are alleged to be involved. With this kind of revelations, what do you think is going to happen to the nation's economy?
Well, I don't know whether any nation can survive this level of industrial scale oil theft. I did an opinion in my column in the Punch. That was last week or 2 weeks ago, where I talked about the hemorrhaging economy. And if there is one area the economy is hemorrhaging, it's actually in the area of oil theft, where we are told, at least official figure says, we are losing 400,000 barrels per day to crude oil theft. And I wonder if this oil is not something you put in your pockets and walk away as like you stole a phone, how come these people who are engaging in oil theft are able to succeed on a daily basis, bringing empty ships, empty vessels into our maritime domain, and walking away with hundreds of thousands of crude oil. And we also have Nigerian Maritime Security Agency, NIMASA. We have Nigerian Navy, we have NSCDC, we have police, we have over 20 security agencies. And at some point, the administration of Goodluck Jonathan even have to do a deal with Niger Delta militants, asking them to help with the oil surveillance and oil pipeline protection. All of these have not yielded positive. And I wonder if
let me come in. The stolen oil, is it outside the shores of this country or within? The figures you're talking about 400,000. Other figures are giving us 20,000.
No. The 400,000 barrels per day that we are alleged to be losing per day is a figure from the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Tim Silva, former governor of Bayelsa State. Okay. So I'm not making this up. No. What is said, and this was during his visit to the Imo State Governor, Opus Odima, recently. The oil theft are in twofold. We have the stolen crude by international agencies that conspire to come and steal our crude oil. We also have those who engage in pipeline vandalism, who siphon this crude and engage in what is called illegal oil refineries, illegal modular refinery in the bushes of Niger Delta. Those ones were what the government tried to dismantle with the support of Rivers State government last year, where the Rivers State governor ordered every local government chairperson, mobilizing them with, I think, 20 million naira each to dismantle that crude oil, illegal crude oil refineries in the bushes of Niger Delta. And so we have this pipeline vandalism. We also have in Arekpo area of Ogun State, where bandits have also set up camps where they burst pipeline and take away refined petroleum products. So whichever way you look at it, it's economic sabotage, and this is not something that we should be experiencing with a president that has a military background. Our president is not just a major or captain or second lieutenant or lieutenant. We are talking of a retired major general in Nigerian Army, and yet this haste is being committed under his watch. He is also the substantive minister of petroleum resources. So where do you, if they are now so helpless, and now they are saying churches and mosques are involved, in what? They said in storage of this crude. I mean, which churches? Why can't they mention those churches and go after the shepherds of those churches?
There's lack of political will to even go after some of the people.
We should have been treated to names and identity of the churches where they said this refined petroleum or crude oil were kept.
But talking about pipeline vandalism, do you think we need more boots on ground to protect, or we need to engage the communities to get their buy-in to actually protect those facilities?
It's not a one-way traffic. We need multi-pronged approach to dealing with this problem. You need the communities. You need more boots on ground. You also need technology. In fact, all over the world, it's technology that is being used to survey, to carry out surveillance.
So it's not just having more boots on ground or having
you need people to operate the technology.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is, what number one priority should be acquiring the needed technology. There are technology that if you vandalize a pipeline, would send alarm.
Yes.
And you know the exact spot with a twinkle. And that's the kind of technology they also want to put on our rail, on our railway lines, rail tracks. So what we are saying is that we need to acquire the needed technology. We need to recruit and equip the personnel with requisite skills to be able to operate this technology. We also need the buy-in of the communities. We also need the buy-in of other countries that we share maritime domain with. There are ships or vessels that comes to Nigeria to load. You should have documentations that will allow you to move from one country to another.
Okay, talking about ships that come to Nigeria, I remember the last briefing, the Nigerian Navy made it very clear that it is not out of place for a vessel to come into Nigeria awaiting clearance to load.
You can see on the screen.
Yes.
Look at, so that's a bus pipeline, and this is a vendor that is making away with crude from that bus pipeline.
So if it is not out of place for a vessel to come into Nigeria awaiting clearance, what is the missing link? How can you now get out of the water? Mind you, there's this technology called Falcon Eye that the Nigerian Navy has that enables them to monitor every inch of our maritime domain. So how is it possible?
That is where complicity. That is where complicity lies. Nigerian Navy personnel that is guiding our maritime domain cannot claim or feign ignorance that they do not know how this oil are stolen. They are in cahoot. The NSCDC are in cahoot. The NIMASA officials are in cahoot with these vandals and with these crude thieves. Because if they are not, and I recall that, was it last year or early this year, when the governor of Rivers State, who took a very drastic action against this issue of illegal refineries and pipeline vandalism, there were some NSCDC officials that were caught that were offering protection to those who are engaging in this vandalism. And the one that bothers me most is the ones that come with empty ships and load stolen crude out of this country with false documentation, and they are never detected.
So that there's nobody to even verify.
There should have been they have to detect fake documentation. That, you know, it's like what happened in Sierra Leone, where they were talking of stolen blood diamond, where people will come illegally mine the diamonds and go away with it. And that's what has been responsible for the crisis in Zamfara, with illegal mining of gold and lead and some other solid mineral. But what we are saying is that to solve this problem, there is a lot of heads to roll. The corrupt officials that are involved.
You remember River State governor has mentioned names of some government officials too. Politicians. He has even gone ahead to even arrest some of them.
What has happened?
There was a time he accused a major general of being involved, the GOC of 6D then.
So what has happened to him?
And
what has happened to him? Yeah, that's what we are saying. The culture of impunity. The impunity which, and that's why we will not see the back of this. Because it's impunity. Look, if we are finding it difficult to arrest those who are doing the one on maritime domains, claiming that they are pirates, they are well armed, they are wielding sophisticated arms and ammunition, what about those who engage in the busting of pipeline? We just saw on the screen earlier a bust pipeline, and by now we should have acquired the needed technology, surveillance equipment that will allow us to see exactly who and where and how these pipelines are bust. Look at that. And when you bust pipeline, like that, you also degrade the environment. Of course, there's environmental degradation because the vegetation in and around those bust pipeline will die off. The ecosystem will be negatively affected. So this is a huge problem. But I really do not, in good conscience, I really do not know why the president could not end this economic sabotage.
At least he has given us the legal framework. Now about 12 persons have been convicted. you know, but I think we still need more when it comes to piracy, fighting piracy and other criminal
It's not only piracy,
Niger Delta.
vandals.
But talking about vandals, do we even have the willpower to go after those guys if we keep covering up for them? Over time, a lot of things are handed over to the prosecuting agencies, and at the end of the day, you still see them back to their businesses.
I think the media has not done sufficient follow through on the activities of those who have been arrested and their prosecution in court. I think our investigative journalism hasn't really focused on this, because after this, like we are seeing on the screen now, maybe about 8-10 of them that were arrested for pipeline vandalism. Is anybody following through with the court processes to know whether these small fries who are actually working for barons,
of course,
whether the barons were actually, they lead them to the barons? Because you know what shocks me? These people, having amassed enormous wealth from this illegal economic sabotage, will now be the one to put billions of naira down for funding of election of some of the candidates.
Of course.
That is money laundering in politics. And so when they come into office, these people who have funded your campaign, you cannot go after them. That is the vicious circle we find ourselves. Because if you look at the cost, a barrel of crude oil in the international market today is selling for about $100 per barrel. And we are losing about 400,000 naira, 400,000 barrels per day. If you do the math,
according to the NNPC, other unofficial figures put it at 20,000 per day.
No, it goes beyond 20. I'm saying
no. The NNPC has to do with non-production and other losses.
So if whether you put it at 20, the whole production of Ghana is about 20,000 barrels per day, and we have what is it called? We have an open quota. Our open quota is 1.8 million barrels per day. That's what we budgeted on. We are losing, from what Simi Presiva said, we are losing 400,000 barrels per day.
Even the 20,000, the Navy said it's not realistic. So, and the minister is talking about 400,000. So that's just for Nigerians to actually think about what. No, just know what
now
is going
we
on
are borrowing money to fund our budget. They are saying that 11 trillion will be borrowed to fund 2023 budget, but you have a leakage. You have a leakage of 400,000 barrels per day.
Unable to block,
and you are not able to block it. But you find it convenient to go to China, Exim and Exim Bank, and borrow money to come and fund your budget. The day they will come and seize our national assets,
maybe they will first of all go to the oil sector. Interesting.
It's not funny at all.
All right. We'll move to the next paper, which is THISDAY. And we're looking at the major headline. Major crowdfunding. Nigerians in what?
Okay. Nigerians in diaspora.
Nigerians in diaspora moved to raise $150 million, $100 billion for Obi's campaign. Labour candidates pledges to cut cost of governance, commitment to transparency, accountability. Can any president, any leader in Nigeria cut the cost of governance?
Of course, there are leaders that can do that. You know, Peter Obi did that.
A lot of them have promised us.
Yes,
we never saw it.
Well, even this association is still grappling to deal with the issue of MDA's rationalization. Mergers and acquisition of Orosaye report of 2011. Buhari is still promising that he's going to implement the white paper on that. But I gave an interview in the Guardian of yesterday where I said I doubt whether this president will actually be able to reduce the NDAs, because one, there are laws that set up these NDAs. You can't just scrap them without repealing the laws that set them up. And we have not seen any bills being sponsored in the National Assembly seeking the repeal of the law setting up some of these agencies. Don't forget they are set up by Act of Parliament. 2, we are going to submit budget for 2023 in September. And if you have not mentioned those agencies that are going to be scrapped, it then means you have to make budgetary provision for them in the 2023 budget. So I felt by now we should have known the agencies that are proposed for scrapping, and then get a law sponsored in the National Assembly to say these agencies, please nullify the act that set them up. Then there should be no provision for them in the budget.
Actually, is there any agency in Nigeria that has fulfilled its mandate that is out of use, that has become obsolete? Has any achieved its purpose?
No, what we are saying is that now there is a conscious effort at rationalizing the MDAs, that we have too many MDAs doing the same thing, the implication of duty. If you read Steve Oronsai's report of 2011, it articulated all of this and the gains that are supposed to be inherent from it. Unfortunately, late tactics have been used. When the report was submitted in 2014, that was 3 years after the report was out. This administration inherited that, but political consideration has not made them to act on it. In 2020, there was a marching order to the head of service, the secretary to the federal government, to implement the white paper. Now, just last week, a meeting with the Civil Service Union, Buhari is promising that he's going to implement the Oronsai report. But by and large, I feel that given the fact that 90% of the recommendations of Steve Oronsai was not even adopted by the White Paper Committee, whatever is being proposed for merger and acquisition is just like a carcass of the main issue. And between 2011 and now, many more agencies have been established that were not captured in the Steve Oronsai's report. So how do you deal with that? But long story short, let's deal with the main issue in that report, which is the fact that Peter Obi's supporters in the diaspora are promising to raise 150 million US dollars and 100 billion naira for his campaign. They need to be aware of Section 225 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which forbids foreign sponsorship of political parties.
Are they foreigners? These are Nigerians in diaspora?
No, foreign, moving funds from abroad. Okay. Because the fear is that if you allow funds from abroad to be used in funding election in Nigeria, this money could be from unwholesome sources like drug trafficking, arms trafficking, or even from fraud. And so that's one. Two, this crowdfunding, it needs to be oversighted by the relevant, EFCC needs to oversight it. Who is donating what? Can we really account for it? Because unfortunately, while there are campaign finance provision prohibiting activities of illegal foreign donations into political parties, there are no specific laws guiding funding of candidates beyond the campaign finance ceilings that are provided in Section 88, subsection 2 to 7, which is talking about the presidential candidate not spending more than 5 billion. And now, when you look at the fact that these people are, this is where I think we can get them to behave, which is why INEC and EFCC needs to shine their eyes. If we look at that report, they are promising to raise 100 billion for Peter Obi and $150 million. Meanwhile, Section 82, Section 88, subsection 2 to 7, particularly subsection 2, is saying that a presidential candidate should not spend more than 5 billion. So if the home campaign financing is 5 billion and some people are promising to raise 500 billion, that is a clear breach of campaign finance provision in the Electoral Act.
But coming to that, you talked about foreign donation being forbidden by the Act. So how can we now, many Nigerians will ask, if we can take funds, if the Nigerians in diaspora can send back funds to the Nigerian Diaspora Commission, why can't we also contribute to the political system.
No. You spending remitting money to your kith and kin in Nigeria is not forbidden. What we are saying is funding political activities.
There's diaspora remittance.
Yes. Is it?
We have a diaspora remittance.
Yes, we have that. But what I'm saying is that the law forbids you from spending over 5 billion. If they are mobilizing 100 billion,
they are free to mobilize funds.
True. No, wait. It's the political parties, the laws, the section 225 of the Constitution says cannot receive funding from abroad. But I think candidates can receive through crowdfunding. You know, there is this funding platform, is it GoFundMe or something? Now, but your spending should not be above 5 billion. Okay. As presidential candidate. So if they mobilize 100 billion naira for it, that is clear in excess of what the law permits. And that would be a breach of section 88 subsection 2 of the Electoral 2022. That's one. Two, the funding of political activities under whatever guise needs to be oversighted by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission as well as INEC, Independent National Electoral Commission. Because we need to know from which sources this money is coming. From which source? You cannot use politics for money laundering or any unwholesome sources. Now, if somebody like Hush Puppy is seen to have made a donation of $1 million, of course, that is a clear breach of the law. I don't know if you get my drift, which is why EFCC needs to oversight these crowdfunding platforms to know who is donating what, how much is being donated.
Point taken. So it's now left for him to discuss with his supporters and see what he can come up with.
A very innovative way. I know all of them do it. Even it's just that this diaspora who are supporting P2B are just being very loud. There are discrete ways that these things get done over the years. Nobody gets to know. But when you are already saying we are mobilizing 100 billion naira for India, that already raised red flag. Because what the law says is that, let me give you the provision of the Electoral Act. Apart from the fact that you cannot spend more than 5 billion on your campaign as a presidential candidate, the law also said you have to any funding above 100,000 after you need to know the source
of that person,
of the identity of the person and all of that. So how many of them will be willing to disclose their identity, knowing full well that they may not be paying appropriate taxes? And if you now find that you have paid somebody, you have given somebody $100,000 for his campaign, that may warrant unnecessary satellite on you and on your activities. So they need to tread very carefully with this issue of crowdfunding. I'm not saying it is not permissible. It's only the political parties that I know should not collect foreign donations. But even if you are giving money, it has to be within the limit that is permitted by law. And you must know that there may be backlash and consequences in the event that you are investigated for tax evasions and all of that.
All right. We'll now move to the next edition of the paper. We're looking at the Nation. And the biggest story here is about Buhari to Nigerians. Buhari to Nigerians. I won't interfere in next year's polls. Osimba just challenges governors on economy, ASU strike. You know, this ASU strike has been a tone in the neck of almost every Nigerian. I don't know. Your take on this whole, now they've gone on indefinite strike. It's way over 6 months. All negotiations have failed. The government is unable to meet the demands of the union. What is your take on this polls?
Very unfortunate. Very
assuring not to interfere in polls.
Very unfortunate development on ASU. But let's discuss the main issue there, where he met with APC governors yesterday and promised that he was not going to interfere. I think that is an indirect indictment on Olusegun Obasanjo in 2007 that said the 2007 election was a do or die for him and PDP. And we saw how that election eventually panned out. So the commitment of President Buhari to free and fair election is commendable, provided he will live up to his promise. Remember in his Democracy Day speech on June 12th, he actually reiterated that one of the lasting legacies he wants to leave is free, fair, and credible 2023 election. And his kinsman, the late Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, actually gave us that reform, electoral reform. In fact, to the memory and to the credit of Umaru Musa Yar'Adua's administration, we got the most comprehensive electoral reform was under Umaru Musa Yar'Adua. Recall that under him there were constitutional amendments that improved our activities of the INEC. For instance, that 2010 constitutional amendment talked about INEC being on first line charge on Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation, which is granting INEC financial autonomy in 2010. It was also that time that the judicial reform, where there was now timeline for dealing with election disputes, was pegged at the tribunal. You spend maximum of 180 days, at the Court of Appeal 60 days, at the Supreme Court 60 days. That was when those timelines were also put in place. Then the reduction of judges of the tribunal from 5 to 3 to enable creation of additional tribunals. As well as that was when it was in 2010 that you have cases of the election dispute on governorship election moving up to Supreme Court. It used to be from 1999, 2003, 2007, the governorship election petition ends at the Court of Appeal. But after the 2010 electoral constitutional amendment, it now goes from the tribunal to Court of Appeal to Supreme Court. And there was also even reduction in the age of chairman of INEC from the initial 50 to 40 years. So a 40-year person can head INEC now. That is under Umaru Musa Yar'Adua and Goodluck Jonathan administration. But Buhari also wants to leave a legacy that it will be remembered that he did not interfere in the forthcoming general election. And he has demonstrated that. In fairness to him, if you look at all the by-elections and the off-cycle governorship elections that have been held under this administration, you will see that whoever wins, he congratulates them. When APGA won, when what's his name? Willie Obiano first won his re-election, it was under this administration in 2017 or 2018. He congratulated the winner. When Soludo won last year, he congratulated. When Ademola Adeleke won in Osun, despite being an opposition party, he congratulated. He never fomented, he never said, oh, go to court and all of that. So whether it's opposition or a member of his party that wins, he congratulates them. Then if he lives up to expectation, it's going to inspire many people to participate in the election, because at least if he stays off the field and allow the electorate to determine the next president of Nigeria, he will be applauded and lauded as being able to conduct free, fair, and credible elections. So we wish him well. But coming to issue of ASUU, yesterday, I posted on my Facebook wall that I'm tired of ASUU case. Okay. Because I've been doing media rounds discussing this ASUU, and I have I will not blame the victim. I believe that ASU has every justification to go on strike. But he who fights and run away lives to fight another day. But he who in a battle is slain can never rise and fight again. That's what a philosopher said. ASU should learn to, adopt another strategy. You have done this for 190 days plus. In fact, almost 200 days. Because as at 2-3 days ago, it was 196 days. As at Monday, 196. Today is 198 days. That's close to 200 days. And obviously, this administration they are not ready to buy the bullets to resolve that issue. Recall that they are already telling us that in 17 trillion budget being proposed for 2023, 11 trillion out of that will be borrowed. So they do not have money. And as we are saying, the 23 million USD that you are getting from Abacha loot, use it to revitalize the university. Of course,
Malami out of place for requesting that.
No, Malami will tell you that what they sign is that the money will be committed to Second Niger Bridge, Lagos Ibadan Expressway, and Kaduna Kano Expressway. We do not know why it is those who are repatriating the funds that should tell us where to apply those resources. I believe that 23 million USD, if it had been given to the universities to revitalize them, it will have gone a long way. But the point is, I believe we have gotten to a point where well-meaning Nigerians, people of good conscience, credible Nigerians, elder statesmen need to come together and make the necessary appeal for this issue to be resolved once and for all. Because it is a bad optics for APC, for students to be kept at home, for another.
This is election period.
This election period, so they can get punished for this issue of ASU strike in the next election. Don't forget, in 2020, ASU was on strike for 9 months, from March to December 23, 2020. The reason why the impact is not as felt as now was because of COVID-19, where everybody was jittery about the global pandemic. But now, ASU has shut down the universities for 7 months now, and there is no end in sight. And they are fast losing the sympathy of the parents and general public. In fact, parents, teachers of students in universities even came out and said, we are ready to make a what's it called? A levy, or we are ready to support with a levy of 10,000 naira each. ASU said they don't need the PTA money. Why should they say that? Every couple counts. I believe, I'm not saying that they should just allow that into a central post. If PTA, Parent Teacher Association in every campuses, decide to support their schools with 10,000 naira each, and we have sometimes in some schools 50,000 student enrollment. Just imagine what that could do.
How will you be able to coordinate that?
No, it's like
to raise that fund.
Yeah, yes, you can coordinate it. Okay. How many students is on your enrollment, whether for long distance or part-time or full-time. You have the enrollment figure. So all you just say is that your registration, you just mark 10,000 or 20,000 development levy, and they will get receipt. Okay. They will get receipt for that. And I suggested,
lots of Nigerians can't even afford fees.
No, they can afford 10,000. Don't say that. Look, let's face the reality. I am very mindful of one thing. And if you go back in time and check what I've discussed on us, I've continually maintained a position that government alone cannot fund education in Nigeria. The point is, we have other means by which education could be funded through levies like this, development levy. But beyond that, what about the landed property? Did you know how many acres of land some of these universities have that are land fallow?
Yeah, of course.
And if you have 100 acres, if you have 100 acres, you have 100 acres, you are not using up to 20. You can say for expansion purpose, additional 30. Sell off 50 acres. Use that 50, then proceed to develop infrastructure of the existing one, expand the infrastructure, or appeal to your alumni association to come. I mean, those who are drivers of captains of industries today are products of universities. So some of them can come and donate one administrative block or hostel or lecture theater or library or laboratory, and that will also increase the infrastructure in the school.
Still on ASU, the Daily Sun says governors offer to take over negotiation with ASU. Should the governors take over after the federal government has failed?
Of course they can, because they are also affected. Some not all. Some state universities are also on strike. Yes. And
not because the governors have failed to meet up their demands.
Well, I don't know whether it's sympathy or
some of the state governors don't have problem with their own universities.
And some universities have not joined the strike. Lagos State University is in session. Osun State University is in session. Some have withdrawn, like Ladoka University have withdrawn from the strike, I think from August 18. So there are those. But if the governors decide to weigh in, these are eminent Nigerians that we are talking about. People like Obasanjo, people like Abubakar, Abdusalami Abubakar, people like Tiwa Danjuma, people like IBB. They should not just be meeting over politics or over the next election. This is about next generation. They should meet to say, okay, these are our thoughts on how to facilitate quick resolution of this. And also, I've also made a demand, which I think is very germane, which is that President Buhari himself should chair the resolution committee. That if he's there to listen to them directly, not that they are reporting to him. Because those who are reporting to him may not be truthful in what they are telling him.
They may tell what to
they may not, exactly. They may even say those people are stubborn. We have done everything that we need to. But let them hear.
He gave 2 weeks order.
Yeah, the president said in 2 weeks, they said he never gave them ultimatum. But if Obasanjo is seated, wait, let's assume Obasanjo is seated, Buhari is seated, IBB is seated, Tiwa Danjuma is seated, and other well-meaning Nigerians are seated. And they call ASU and say, what are your issues? We are told we have done XYZ, only this one. They will get to know the truth. Because Osodeka have been saying that, look, all these things, propaganda that federal government team is saying, that we have met 80% of us, where is it written? There's no documents to back up anything. So whatever they said,
even an agreement that was reached in 2020,
that was signed in 2020, the one that was signed to get
it started from 2019.
I said the last one was 2020, that they signed on December 23. It was not implemented. So they said, let the president chair the resolution committee and listen to them directly and see what you could do.
Which is not out of place.
Which is not out of place, because that's what Goodluck Jonathan did to resolve ASU crisis, ultimately during his own tenure. So if the president should not just be too nonchalant and too standoffish on this matter, let him call ASU and meet with them directly. With the government team. Government team sit to one side. ASU team sit to one side. The president chair the meeting. Let him listen to both sides. And at least he will be able to make an informed judgment. But this issue, it will have political implication for APC, because we are just barely 6 months to the next presidential election.
And the youths are the majority.
Oh, you will see, they will punish APC for this. I'll tell you for free. They will punish APC for this.
Oh, there's another story here about in the Southeast. Southeast has been suffering from all these agitations. And the Southeast, the report said about 19 civilians and security personnel were killed in 13 months. That according to reports. There's no major crisis except the issue of agitation, IPOB, and all these things. That's 119. are not talking about the northeast where we have insurgency.
No, those that were killed in southeast as a result of the separatist agitation.
Yes.
Okay. I can see now. Southeast, 119 civilians, security personnel killed in 3 months. That's huge. That's huge. And you see this.
And there's no major
security breach. But we are even talking of 119 civilians and security personnel killed. We have not talked about assets that have been destroyed. INEC offices in many of the southeast states have been razed by unknown gunmen. You recall, out of over 40 that INEC claimed, it has over 40 offices that were around that were burnt or razed or attacked. Many of them happens to be in the southeast region. It's only Peter Obi's candidacy now that have reduced the tension of IPOB agitation because they believe in his presidency. So you can see that in the last, since May or June, when Peter Obi joined Labour Party, and with the social media, rev and hype about his candidacy, there has been a lowering of attack in the southeast, even though 119 is still a huge number, but at least the IPOB agitation has reduced considerably. And if he wins, because the election, there could be upset.
That means there's more to settling all the vices in Nigeria than just the using the gun.
Of course, it's a political approach.
A political solution to most of the crisis.
Look, this has happened before. Initially, I was all for what is called political affirmation for Southeast presidency in 2023. And I said what was done for Southwest in 1999 could be done for Southeast, because without such affirmation, it will be difficult for a Southeasterner to become the president of Nigeria. They do not have the numbers. They do, even out of all the regions, it's Southeast that have only 5 states. But Northwest has 7. So you can see that even from there, marginalization has started. But I recall that after the death of Abiola, there were a lot of agitation from Odua, People's Congress. They want out of Nigeria, Odua Republic. But the moment that affirmation came, that look, allow a Yoruba man to be the next president in 1999, all the OPC agitation died off naturally, because you cannot be talking of marginalization again, more so when a Yoruba man as emerged as the president. If Peter Obi becomes the next president of Nigeria, you will see that there will be relative peace in the southeast Nigeria. All that you'll be hearing will not be this stay at home on Mondays and all this unknown government. What may just be happening is normal robbery and criminality that are tolerable. I'm not saying it's encouraging, but at least you know that there is no region, there is no state that doesn't have its own level of criminality.
Thank you for your thoughts. All right, viewers. Thank you for staying with us. That's the much we can take for today's edition. And from here, we say goodbye. Stay tuned tomorrow.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.